Hi, welcome to Open Hand Farm. My name is Penny, and today I'm in my apothecary. I have some labeling that I need to do, but we're also going to put together a tincture. So if that's something you're interested in, come on along. I'd love to have you. The first thing we're going to do is label my herbs. I was able to jar up all of my herbs and put them on these shelves just a few weeks ago, but I didn't have time to really label them. I just wrote the name on top of the jar, and I wanted more than just the name in my labeling. I have been watching some videos, and I found out that it's important that you should know the botanical or scientific name of the herb that you're working with, because that will tell you things about it. I decided I was going to make a list of all the herbs that I have here. And then I took that list to my computer and I found two really cool websites. One of them gives me the botanical or scientific name. It tells me the family that the herb is in, which is really cool and interesting. It tells me about the herb, where it's grown, and the type of plant that it is, if it's an annual or if it's a perennial or whatever. But once I had the botanical name, I didn't know how to pronounce it. I don't know about you, but my Latin is not up to par. So I found another website that gives the phonetic spelling of each of those names. So let me show you what I did on my tags. First of all, I want to show you this tag that I got off of Amazon. It's like a very thin cardboard. It's very sturdy. I love it. We're going to use my rosemary here as an example to show you. See if I can get it close enough for you. I wrote the name of the herb. Then I wrote its botanical name underneath. Then under that, in a lighter pen, I wrote the phonetic spelling of the botanical name. Then I wrote what family it is in. Now, there's a little bit of space down here, so some of them had different names that the same herb would go by. Like here on the arnica tag, I didn't have to do the phonetic spelling because it was Arnica montana. I can handle that one, so I left the phonetic spelling out. But there's a list down here of other names that herb might go by. So if I'm talking to somebody and they're saying, oh, I wanted this herb or, whatever, and I'm like, I have no idea what that is. Maybe we're talking about the same herb and just don't know it. So other names for arnica are leopard's bane, mountain snuff, wolfbane, and mountain tobacco. Who knew? So I made a tag for each of these jars. Now, some of them, as I was going through one of the websites, it would tell me if there was a toxicity in any of the herbs and like how severe it was. So I'm going to use my cloves as an example. If it had a toxicity, I wrote toxin, and whatever level it was. This one is a low level toxin. And then in a lighter pen, I wrote what it is that can be the problem. And sometimes it's very simple. Sometimes it's like, yeah, I wasn't going to eat that anyway. But it's nice to know when I am putting together some teas or tinctures or whatever, if I need to be a little concerned about using something in a different way. In the case of the cloves, the toxin is low, and the problem is that the essential oil when used without dilution of another oil, like a sweet almond oil or an olive oil or something like that, it can be a skin irritant. Easy enough. I can handle that. Now, some of them were more severe, but this is how I handled them. That way, when I pick up a jar and I see that toxin written out, I know to look at that before I choose to use it for something. I am not a trained herbalist. I don't know these things. So I love having these cards. Now, I have to tell you though, I kind of geeked out on you because I have decided that I'm going to make flashcards on my computer, and I'm going to put the common name, which is the name cloves in this case, on one side of the card, and on the other side, I'm going to print the botanical name and the family. That way, I can practice saying the botanical names. Now, I want to make this available to you as well if you're interested. So I'm going to figure out a way to do that, and I will let you know soon what that is. But for now, I need to make it. And let me tell you, this took some time. I came down here and I made my list, and I went upstairs to my computer and I thought, oh yeah, I'm just going to sit down and write these botanical names. And then I got to seeing that I don't know how to pronounce the botanical names. Then I saw the family names. So let me tell you, the cloves plant is in the family of the Myrtaceae. Now, that is the myrtle family. I know you've heard of a myrtle plant, I think, but let me do one a little bit more common. The rosemary that we were looking at earlier is in the Lamiaceae family, the mint family. So there were so many that were in the mint family, the daisy family, the legume family, the rose family. Surprising the things that were in the rose family. It was so interesting. I could have sat and learned all day. Actually, I did. It took me all afternoon into the evening some and early this morning for about an hour and a half to make all of these labels. But it was so much fun. It definitely let me know that I have a heart for learning this information. So I am not an herbalist, but I would love to be. So I will continue to study and learn and give the information that I learned to you if that is your heart's desire as well. I also saw all of these fabulous herbs, their uses, and the miracles that they can perform. And I had to stop and thank God for all of the wonderful plants that He has provided for us. It's amazing what these plants can do. I know that we are so used to going to a doctor's office and saying, I need you to fix this. And so they give us a medication that is like a Band-Aid. It will take care of the symptoms, but it does not cure the problem. A lot of these herbs are herbs that will keep the situation from presenting itself. It will heal inside your body so that you don't have the problems. And that is amazing to me, that we can do something now to prevent the onset of things that we would need a Band-Aid for. So my job now is to take a piece of twine and tie these around all of these jars. That's going to take just a minute. But I also want to show you something that I bought that is so cool. I have in my stash over here, I have the half-gallon jars and gallon jars that have the really big lids. I'm just going to have to use those because I don't have another option. But I was watching Becoming a Farm Girl the other day, and she bought these lids. They're wooden on top and they have a silicone seal on them. And she was replacing all of her lids, which are 2-piece lids. So I have to unscrew and then I have to take off the metal lid. You guys, that was such a hardship. I know, first world problems. But with this one, I can just put it on and it's sealed. And then I pull it off. Do you hear that? Listen. Get you down here by my mic. You hear the suction? It is sealed. This did not do that. It had a little bit of a seal and the lid was kind of stuck to it. This has a seal. And that is important when it comes to your herbs. Herbs are not cheap. And herbs can last a long time if they are well cared for. Now this jar is almost empty. And I want to show you what I do when I need to refill a jar. I take what is in the bottom of this jar and I pour it into another jar. Then I open the new packet, which I could just store this new packet until I'm ready for it. But I have some things that I'm going to be making and I think I'm going to need to get into these. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in the jar now. So I pour those in my jar. And then I pour these older ones on top so that when I use these, I am using the oldest first, the freshest last. So I'm going to put this lid on and I'm going to cut some twine to put my tag on. Here's my cloves tag. I'm just going to put some twine through here and I'm going to tie it in a knot. And I don't want a tight knot, so that if I want to take this off, I could once this jar lid is off. See, I could take it off if I need to. I want to be able to do that. So then I'm just going to finish tying. And there we go. There's my tag. I also have wide mouth lids for my wide mouth jars. So there is my rosemary. So I'll put my tag on. And I want to leave it loose enough. Put that around front there. Loose enough to be able to come off the jar. I want to let you know that I'm going to put the website addresses that I use to get all of this information in the description box. And they were amazing. I could have been on them all day. Okay, and there's my rosemary. On the flashcards that I was talking about, I'm also going to put a picture of the plant. It is amazing to see how these plants look because all we see is what's dry in the jar. If you're wanting to do this for your apothecary jars, I took a list of the herbs that I have to my computer. And then on just a scrap tablet, I wrote down all of the information that I found about each plant that I wanted to put on my tag. And then I just kept going. I got all the information. Then I sat down with my tags and wrote them. And that made it much easier. So I didn't have to go from computer screen to tag to try to figure out what I'm writing and end up skipping a line and writing something else. So that worked out great. Hopefully that'll help you out in your mission to label your herbs in a better way. I'm going to go tie all of these tags onto these jars so that I can show you what it looks like with the tags on them. I set up some markers on my table with masking tape to the length of string that I needed to go on this size jar. So I laid it out and decided where the tape needed to be. And now I'm just going to use that to continue cutting all of the narrow mouth strings that I need. Now when I'm done with those, I'll move one of these ends over to represent where I need to cut for the wide mouth jars. Okay, you guys, I got all my tags on and I changed out the lids for the wide mouth and regular mouth jars for the brown wooden lids. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This looks so much better and I know what things are. I know so much more about them. It's exciting. And I love those brown lids. Oh my goodness, I feel so much better about the labeling of these herbs because now I know what they are and I know so much more information about them. Now we're going to make a tincture. I love to have Echinacea tincture on hand for when we start to feel sick, get a cold or sore throat or something coming on, we'll start taking it. I like to just put the drops into my elderberry syrup and that way you don't taste the tincture as much. I am running out though. So I need to put together some Echinacea tincture because it needs to sit for 4 to 6 weeks. And I think I have enough to carry us through that, but I definitely need some on hand. Today I'm going to use the method that Amy Fewell uses. A lot of people will make tinctures the old folk way, where you fill the jar with so many herbs and then just cover them with vodka or glycerin or apple cider vinegar, whatever you're using to make your tincture. Well, today I'm going to use the method that Amy uses where you weigh out the herb and you measure the medium that you are using to make the tincture. I'm going to be using 80 proof vodka because vodka, even though some people don't want to use it for children, or maybe you just have a problem with alcohol and you don't want to use it, there is nothing wrong with using glycerin or an apple cider vinegar, but you will get a stronger tincture if you use vodka. So that's what I'm going to do today. And I'm going to use my Eastern Purple Coneflower roots or Echinacea. And you can use the leaves and flowers along with the roots, or just the leaves and flowers, or just the roots. It doesn't matter. I have roots on hand, so that's what I will be using. Now I'm going to pull out my scale and start the measuring. I will be using a ratio of 1 to 5. So I will use 1 part dried herbs to 5 parts vodka. So what I'm going to do, because I've never done it this way, I'm going to measure out my vodka first. I know that my jar will hold 2 cups. So I want to find about 1.5 cups of vodka, how much it weighs, so that I can figure what my 1 would be to that. I'm going to change this to fluid ounces, and I'm going to fill it up to about maybe 1.25 cups and go from there. Actually, let's just do 1 cup. We're going to do 1 cup because that will be easier to figure the measurement. Okay, this measures 7.5. So this is 5 parts, and I need to know what 1 part is. So I'm going to take this number and divide it by 5, and that would be 1.5. So I'm going to need 1.5 ounces of herb to go in my 1 cup of vodka. So let's change the units to ounces, and we're going to tear that out. So we have 0. And we want 1 ounce. And then we want a 1/2 ounce. Whoa. Okay, let's get some of that out. A little bit more. Okay. 1.55, we're going to stick with that. To make this tincture, all we have to do is pour the vodka on top. And that is going to be our tincture. We just put a lid on it. If you want to kind of swirl it around, that would be great to make sure all of the herbs are wet with the vodka. So Amy says that we need to put this in a cool, dark place for 4 to 6 weeks, and that we need to shake this a couple of times a day. I don't know how well I can do that. I'm going to be honest. But I have a spot that's dark and cool by my Berkey water filter, and I do fill my water cup twice a day.